Alright guys, welcome in. So today we're going to be talking about trading strategies. I'm going to get into the 9 EMA trading strategy. I'll show you guys what it is, how to use it. We're going to be building off of it. In our previous lessons that we've done, we've covered intro to charting, intro to technical analysis. We've talked a little bit about swing trading. So I think it's time that we start getting into some actual trading strategies. So we're going to talk about the EMA crossover for the 9 EMA and how to use it effectively, how I use it because I use it every day. And yeah, then we're going to build off of it as well. So I'll show you guys a slimmed down version of the strategy and then how to build up on that strategy, make it a little more complex, add other layers of confirmation or verification in there, and when that might be useful. So we're going to give people a few minutes to join up here over on YouTube as well as the Discord for people who want to participate in the live part. Add other layers. All right. Get started in just a moment. Let the last bit of people join up. Okay, so if you're looking at my screen right now, you'll see I'm looking at futures. Futures are in a pretty bad spot right now. Last week we kept coming down towards the same sort of level within this range here around 43.80, and we just blew through that level. Futures are now on their way, it looks like, towards about 43.12. But anyways, we're going to tear right into it for the strategy, the EMA 9 strategy. So you guys already should be familiar with what EMAs are. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. It's allergy season. Exponential moving average, the 9-day moving average. Now, there's a couple different ways that this can be used. So this can actually be used on a higher time frame as well as a shorter time frame. Now, I do a lot of day trading, so I use shorter time frames, but this strategy definitely works on higher time frames as well. So I'm going to show you how I use it when I'm looking for a 9 EMA crossover. For the most part, it's a fairly simple strategy. So this pink line that you're seeing on the screen is going to be our EMA 9, okay? And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take either a long position or a short position based upon where we are where the price is or the candles are in relation to this pink line, right? So if we're under the EMA or any EMA, it's bearish. If we're over, then it's bullish, right? So two different time frames is what you want to be flipping back and forth. Whether you're on a short time frame or a larger time frame, looking to like do swing trading or things like that. So you can use either like a 1 minute and 5 minute combination, or like a 3 minute, 6 minute combination. It's really going to be what you feel most comfortable with. I've had great success with a 1 and 5 minute, and I consistently use a 3 and 6 minute because it scales 2 to 1. My chart scaled 2 to 1. So either way, what we're looking for is a confirmation below, 2 candle confirmation below the EMA 9 to take a short position, or 2 candles closing above the EMA 9 for a long position, right? And essentially you would sell when you get the opposite or the inverse, right? So if we took a short position as we broke through, first big red candle, we're closing below the 9 EMA, then another candle closing below the 9 EMA. Now we're getting green candles. One second, chat. Dry throat. So then we start getting some green candles here. So we took a short position up here in theory, right? Took a short position as we are breaking below. We're looking for a short. Then we actually execute our short when our second candle closes, right where this arrow is pointing to. Okay? Now we're going to stay in this trade. Even though we're getting green candles, we're going to hang out in this short position following this strategy, this 9 EMA strategy, because we're not getting candles closing above the 9 EMA. So not only do we need 1, but we would need 2 candles closing above the 9 EMA for us to exit our short position. So us waking up, we're hanging out, we're chilling. We're just on a 3 minute time frame here. And then we're just going to continue to ride these puts down. Now we just got our first candle closing above the 9 EMA right here. You can see the way you distinguish between closing and wicking. Wicking is known as this long white line. Whenever there's long white lines, or maybe they're black, whenever there's these points hanging out of the candle body, those are known as wicks. So essentially, when the price pushes up to that point, and then comes back down and retraces, it's going to leave that wick, right? So we're not concerned with the wicking as much as our actual closing. So the candle bodies are formed when the price or the candle opens and when the candle closes, right? So if it's a red candle if the close is below the open, right? And it's a green candle if the close is above the open. So it's very simple in that regards. But when we're talking about the EMA 9 strategy, we want to monitor where the price is closing in relation to the EMA 9, right? So we'll take a short position if the price is closing below the 9 EMA. Another way of possibly doing this, or you know what, we'll revisit that. Let me get through this point and then I'll revisit that. So right now we got, this would possibly be our exit for our short position. About 20 seconds left before this candle closes. But anyways, we entered a short position here. We hung out because even though we were getting green candles and picking back up, we're probably a little down on this position. We're not closing the candles above the 9 EMA at any point. Another little wick above, another little wick above. Now we actually close that price and that price. So now would be a possible exit for your short position if you're in a short position. Now this is really good for day trading. You're not staying in these trades for long periods of time. You're essentially just trading a single trend direction like one time. And it can be used on either the long side or the short side. So it's just where are we in relation to the 9 EMA on that time frame. Now, I talked about switching between time frames, so here we're on a 3. Let's just go to a 1 really quickly. And you can see it's the same strategy, just zoomed in a little bit more. So what you could be watching for is a entry on the 1 minute, or let's say the 3 minute, and then you would monitor on like the 5 minute or the 6 minute. So that's typically how you would do it. So you'd enter on the 3, or maybe on a 1, and then you would exit either on a 5 or a 6. So when we start to get a red candle, or I'm sorry, if we had entered the short position on that big red engulfing candle right here, we would get out of the position when we start to push over for 2 consecutive candles on our 6 minute or on our 5 minute. So that's the way that you're supposed to use the 2 different time frames. So you enter on the shorter time frame, and then you monitor on your higher time frame. So if you're ever feeling like you're going to get shaken out of the trade or something of that nature, maybe it wasn't a clear-cut direction initially, look at the higher time frame, whichever one, if it's a 5 or a 6 minute. Look at that, and as long as we're still below the 9 EMA, if you're short, then you're still hanging out. You're chilling. No stress. No stress. Or long. So it's really about keeping yourself cool, calm, and collected when you're using 2 different time frames. So just to recap on it, and that's basically the 9 EMA strategy, right? So this is the EMA 9 strategy. I'll write some of this out real quick. So on it, you want to have 2 different time frames, 2 time frames. Either 1 and 5 or like a 3 and 6. It's really going to be up to you and what you end up kind of liking. So 2 candle confirmation. And the big thing is to trade like a robot and have no motion. So whether we're crossing the 9 EMA and you're break even or red or taking profit, you just got to be a robot and do what needs to be done, right? So that's basically it for the 9 EMA strategy. But as you guys had seen from the other classes we've done, there's a lot more to technical analysis, and there's a lot more to be built on with the strategy. This is just a very slim strategy for the EMA 9. So building off of that, we can start to add things such as VWAP. We could start to add, or we could stack the 20. We could stack the 20 EMA. And then, of course, we're going to still have our support and resistances. Support/resistances. So it all stacks on top of each other. Okay, and what I'll do next is show you guys kind of what that looks like when it all is stacked together. And then I'm also going to show you guys kind of another strategy that has to do with the 9, but after that. So right now I just have the 9. You see my support and resistance levels up here. This blue line, this white line. You see another white line up here. So let me add VWAP really quickly as well. And then we'll also add our 20 EMA. Yep, that's our 20, okay. Okay, so VWAP is going to be something that really attracts the price action, meaning that the price action is always going to be kind of magnetic and want to come back towards that level at some point. Both the VWAP and the 200 EMA are highly attractive for a lot of market manipulation, meaning there's a lot of indecision and a lot of either support, resistance / demand areas, supply and demand areas at either the VWAP or the 200 EMA, right? But I'm just talking about VWAP right now. So you can use the 9 and the 20 as well as VWAP kind of all combined. So with the 20, that's giving you your higher time frame EMA, right? So the 9 is representing our 9-day moving average, whereas the 20 is our 20-day moving average. So with that being said, there's another way of stacking into this, and that's with a 9 and 20 crossover. So there's a 9 and 20 EMA crossover, which I'm going to pull VWAP off here really quickly and show you guys what that looks like. So right in this area, we're having both a bullish crossover and then a bearish crossover. So when you're using, and this is a really good example, when you're using EMAs, there is a lag behind them, right? They're not a leading indicator, they're a lagging indicator because it has to take the moving average of however many days or whatever other calculations need to be taken in. It's an exponential or a simple moving average. It's a lagging indicator. The only thing that will lead our price action is going to be our volume, right? So with that being said, if you're looking at two different moving averages and you're looking for a crossover, that is going to still be a lag. So you see here, for instance, our 9 EMA, we're picking our price up over our 9 EMA. We get our second closure above, right? And then we're starting to pick up, continue to pick up. So if we had taken a long signal here, we would exit on when we start to break 2 candles below the 9, which ended up being right about here. But we have our 9 and our 20 cross a little bit later. If we had just traded the 9 strategy, which I just showed you guys, as opposed to the 9 and 20 crossover, essentially the crossover strategy, and what I'm talking about specifically, the 9 and the 20 EMA crossover, people like to use that as an alert or a signal to either enter or exit a trade, a long or a short position or whatever. So with the 9, we had already gotten into this position, right? We start to push over our 20, we confirm over our 20 as well. So that's the 9 and the 20 working together there. And then you're seeing the crossover a candle or two later. That's just because they lag. However, this could be another level or confirmation that you utilize prior to entering a trade. However, like you see here, it flipped very quickly, very quickly. Why? Well, we had anticipated resistance right here. So we had to confirm above that resistance in order for us to continue that uptrend. If you had just taken the 9 strategy, you would have done well. You could have set your trailing stops and gotten out before we had even come back down and needed to get out of the trade. But if you had gotten in on a 9 and 20 crossover, you got in all the way up here, if not up here. And then you went red very quickly. It's a really good way to gauge whether or not the momentum is actually shifting within a security. And it was. It was certainly trying to shift here. However, it ended up just being a lower high. If we zoom out a little bit and look left, we're just seeing lower high, lower high, lower high, and an overall pretty big downtrend, right? And now it's just more of the same. And this is also known as a knife. And then we start knifing all the way down. Knife, 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 knife. So if you were wanting to go long up here, what you could have done is you could have waited for the candle price to close above our resistance level using the 9 and the 20 with a crossover. So this is several different confirmation levels for you. But this is just more options in the way that you guys can build them out to kind of suit your needs. Some people just want to trade very simply with the 9 EMA, and it's incredibly profitable. You can scalp, you can swing on the 9 EMA, you can do plenty off of it. I want to open up real quick if anybody has any questions. I'm going to switch over to YouTube real quick and see what are my settings on the EMA line. It's just a 9 EMA. Just a default 9 EMA to close. That's it. Are we looking at SPY? We're not looking at SPY right now. These are futures, which is E-mini futures, which is basically the S&P 500. Or I mean, it is. It's the futures for S&P 500, which is basically SPY. yeah, I'll open it up for some questions here if you guys have any. About 20 minutes in, and I already explained to you guys kind of the 9 and 20 strategy and how that works. There aren't any questions, that's fine too. Just wanted to open it up if you guys have any about kind of the strategy. Okay, so let's review. We talked about the EMA 9. We talked about the strategy around the EMA 9, the simple strategy in which we're using two different time frames, either a 1 and 5 minute or a 3 and 6 minute. We're looking for 2 candles confirmation, price closing either above or below. Above if we're entering a long, below if we're closing a long or opening a short. It's important to have no emotion when it comes to this. So you're not wanting to go in really heavy for any trade. If you guys are just looking at this strategy or finding out about it for the first time, it's a pretty simple strategy, but certainly don't go in tomorrow and think that you're just going to go trade this one strategy and be super profitable. Just right out of the gate and over allocate. Either paper trade it or just really put it on your chart and watch it. See how it interacts. Take positions, but don't take large ones until you're confident in the strategy. I showed you guys a lot of little things that you could be doing to make this strategy for you. You could be adding VWAP or the 20. You could be looking at crossovers, adding support and resistances, looking at offset time frames. Make this strategy your own and what works for you. Everybody has their own variation. I mean, for instance, the 8 EMA is another very good strategy that can be traded as well, very similar to the 9 EMA. The 8 EMA can be used in conjunction with the 9 because if the price is straying away from the 8 EMA, then it's usually going to pull back. But all of this is really just simple course stuff that you guys can then build off of, ask questions about, and really personalize towards you and your needs. Because maybe you can't day trade, right? But you can swing trade. Over the weekend, you can do some technical analysis, flip through a few charts, see where we're at with the 9 EMA. Mark your levels out. Excuse me, I just coughed again. Mark your levels out and then trade throughout the week. Maybe you're using the 15-minute and 1 hour. You're entering on a 15-minute, you're monitoring on a 1 hour. That's fine too. If you guys have any questions, you can bring them up in the chat with CJ or over on YouTube. So is this a daily chart? No, this is a 1 minute chart on futures. So do you need candles to be over both EMA to potentially go long, or just a 9? Well, I was talking about the 20 as, that's something you can stack on, like either a VWAP or the 20, or maybe both, or looking at a 9 and 20 crossover. I was first just showing you guys the 9 EMA, and let me pull the 20 off real quick. And you enter when you have 2 green candles closing above. You enter long. When you have 2 red candles below, you enter a short. Okay. What is your website about? How is it different? Well, we have it in Discord. There's a lot of educational material on the website, as well as an algorithm. What's with the 8 EMA again? Yeah, so the 8 EMA, some people really like the 8 EMA because when the price starts to stray away from it, it's usually indicative of a pullback, right? But yeah, you're right. So you need candles to be over both EMA to potentially go long, or just a 9, and vice versa. Yes, essentially. If you wanted to use a 9 and 20, then you would wait for us to get over the 9 and the 20. If you just wanted to use the 9, just wait to get over the 9, right? But that's how you can be adding more levels of confirmation to try to keep you a little bit safer. It's going to really boil down to the time frames that you guys are on. That's what it's going to boil down to more than anything. So you exit on the second candle close and enter. I mean, you don't want to overtrade. If we're like in a downtrend, then I would like ride the downtrend. I wouldn't try to like go long when we're in a downtrend. Does that make sense, Maurice? My throat is so dry. Should we enter a long even if there's a red candle that closes between the 2 green candles above the 9 EMA? No. You need 2 inline candles, because if you're getting a red candle, that could very easily become a reversal, right? The only way you would take that is if that green candle following the red candle was actually higher than the previous green candle. Does that make sense? So if we're getting over the 9 EMA, we got 1 green, 1 red, 1 green. So 3 candles total, green, red, green. That was a good question. I'm only taking that position if our price action's over that first green. The price action on the third is higher than the one on the first. So like for instance right here, we weren't, this is actually exactly right. So boom, close. We could have taken a long position on this red candle. We could have taken a long position. We got our pull up here, or if we were looking at this being our first candle over, green, red, green, the price action of this wasn't superseding or higher than this first green candle, so we didn't take it. Does that make sense? Has to do with the price action pushing over. If we're going to go green, red, green, you got to make sure that price action is pushing over. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Good. You definitely understand the 20 would be another safe confluence. Yes, the 20 can be another confluence. Some people like to use the 9 and the 20 and look for that crossover and use that as a signal to either go long or go short as well. But any of this can be stacked on, right? I'm just trying to show you guys kind of the most simple version and then what it can be built out to be. And as you guys are developed, I want you all to be able to develop your own personal trading strategy that works for you, that you're comfortable with. You know, you're not coming in here and I'm going to teach you my strategy and how I trade, because, you know, it's very specific to how I trade and what works for me. And that doesn't mean I'm going to try to paint everybody with the same brush and be like, okay, everybody else can trade exactly like me. No. Like, nobody, everybody on the team, every mod has their own trading style, right? So we try to be well versed in each other's trading styles, but and some of us trade very similarly. You know, Moody and I trade very similarly, but he does a lot more candle reading than I do, where I try to gauge more momentum, right? So that's where it kind of like, that's where him and I, like, I go on my little path and he goes on his. But like us being able to like have that conversation, I'm seeing things that I might not normally be seeing, and he may be seeing things that he's not normally seeing, because I'm looking at, you know, our overall momentum and he's looking at, you know, these inside bar plays and things of that nature, which are usually just not what I'm looking for, because it's not what I'm, that's not used for like gauging momentum, right? But it's very, very helpful. So think about it, if everybody kind of has their own specific strategy, as a group we can really gather sentiment for, you know, if we're bullish on something or if we're bearish on something, and win. So I know this is kind of off topic, but what futures do you normally look at when trading? I see most traders are looking at NQ. Yeah, so a lot of people use NQ. I don't. I use ES, ES1. So that's going to be our E-mini futures. Why? Well, because that correlates very closely with SPY, right? So for me, I do my larger time frame charting on futures, and then I'll watch usually futures for E-mini futures right next to SPY. So if SPY's like approaching the VWAP or 200 EMA, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go long right here, even though we're picking up very well. Just made a new high a day. And then I'm looking at futures, I'm like, oh, we're already over the 200 and over VWAP, and we're getting over a key level on futures. I'm taking the long position, because SPY moves because futures move. SPY doesn't lead futures. Futures lead SPY. Or NQ doesn't lead, or NQ, McDonald's doesn't lead NQ. NQ leads McDonald's. Typically, that's the way it's going to work. As far as like NASDAQ weighted ETFs, they would move very closely to NQ, whereas like Apple or McDonald's would diverge from either the NASDAQ or SPX or S&P 500. They would diverge a little bit. So I trade SPY a lot. You know, I don't even use the Qs when I'm looking at futures. If I'm looking at futures like this on ES1, you know, I'll trade SPX or SPY contracts. But this is how I gather market sentiment. Does momentum equal volume? In most cases, yes. It has to do a lot with point of control, and then volume comes into play as far as breaking over points of control. So being able to identify points of control, one, key levels, two, and then being able to visualize and see, which is not hard necessarily, when we're breaking our trend and volume, what that is going to actually be doing to the underlying. But yeah, great question, Dale. My allergies are destroying me too. Yeah, I just got a Benadryl after like days of being miserable. You guys have had some great questions so far tonight, though. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Any questions? If you're on Discord, you can type your questions in the chat with CJ. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use the YouTube chat. That works too. How's my Easter going, Maurice? It's going well. A lot of time in the car today. But it's okay. It's a lot less time than would have been spent had I still lived in Atlanta. But we just recently moved to DC, and we were visiting my fiance's family, who's only 2 hours away, 2.5 traffic, as opposed to 8 or 10 hours away. So not as much time as it would have been. Still a little bit of time though. But overall, going pretty well. Had a fantastic cup of coffee this morning. Now futures are bleeding. So you love it when the market's picking a direction. You hate to see it not be bullish, but I like seeing it pick a direction. Yeah, it is definitely better. Definitely better. So if this is your guys' first time in one of my classes, so classes typically last 2 hours. First hour we go over the topic. Today's topic was our 9 EMA strategy. In the second half, or the second hour, I actually take ticker requests. Since we're, if you guys have any more questions about the 9 EMA, I don't want to cut it off now, but I'm going to just go ahead and open up if anybody has any tickers you want me to look at, do some TA for the upcoming week, or if you guys are in plays or have any questions about options. Hi, my name's CJ. I day trade options. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Would you say a 9 EMA is better for scalping quick, small moves in your direction? Yes. Certainly, but at the same time, Latrice, you can let a position run a lot longer than if you're traditionally just doing like price action scalping, meaning you're taking like from one level to another, like one support to one resistance. You can stay in that trade a lot longer using the 9 EMA, meaning like just stay long as we're open the 9 EMA. Just stay long. So we could hit that point and you could sell, obviously, if that's your resistance point or that was your target point. But you could also stay in the trade and still continue to reap profit. That's, the perks of the 9 EMA. And there's certainly drawbacks too. So, like right now, we're getting a lot of chop. So it's not, it's difficult to trade in a chop period. It's easiest to trade when you're trading price action during like chop like this. But with a 9 EMA, the 9 EMA strategy is really not meant for a consolidated like kind of channel like this. It's really great for when the security or the market is actually trending in a specific direction for at least a specific amount of time. So you try to gauge momentum with things like volume, and you try to identify major key levels. You can always just stack more and more and more on top of it in order to have higher levels of confirmation to get the setups you want. But if you had gotten into that short position up here, you got out here. That's when you got out of this position right there. Whereas your target point was probably right here. So we had come down a little bit lower, which was great. What kind? Stumptown? What's that? First time? When are they usually? When is what? I'm sorry, I'm not tracking. There, Maurice. Walmart, TMO. If you guys are listening on Discord, you can spam up your tickers in the chat over on Discord as well. Use the chat with CJ. Here, I'll write it in the chat. And I'll tag the channel. What EMA is on the screen now? That's the 9. That would be the 9. Okay. WM. Waste management. Let's look at the 60. The 1 hour. Turn that bad boy on. And let's see here. Let's go to Trend Finder. Okay. Alright, so we switched from aggressive to Trend Finder. We're still in an uptrend right now. I'd watch this 157.87 level here. Right there. For waste management, actually, I think we're going to build a little bit of a box here. Right there. See that little bit of demand right here. So let's watch these upcoming areas here. We could be establishing downtrend from here. It's gonna depend very heavily on this 158.40 level. I don't think we're in a position right now to take either a long or a short on it. I think if we're crossing back over 161 again, it might be time for a long position though. Okay, source management, TMO. Thermo Fisher Scientific. daily here first. Okay. We'll put some music on really quickly. What do we wanna listen to tonight? What do you guys say? Mike Dimes? Got it. Okay. I got it. I'm on it. Twitter? Absolutely. Let me get some, let me throw a song up real quick.
Cocaine sniffing in the back room. Wishy-washy bitches wanna see what all them racks do. Junkie with a face she loves.
That was definitely too loud. All right. TMO. Well, looking at the daily here, got an inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder head, right shoulder inverse. So this will be taking off again here shortly. It was really good. So this most recent action here, so similar to waste management here, let's do a side by side. This is kind of best case Ontario for waste management. Best case Ontario for waste management, we start to pick up over that 161 level again. Because essentially, this is what waste management is doing right now, right? However, when we broke over this point, which is this point right here, we're establishing that this was not going to be kind of a lower high, if you would, but this is actually going to be a higher low. And then we're going to end up making a higher high, right? So we need to push back over this price action. It's 161 on waste management. And this is on TMO. It just did that. So now we're just going to be looking to continue upwards. It looks like they have earnings here 28th. What is that? Next Thursday. I mean, looking at the daily, they've had a rough week last week. Went from about 620 to 560. That's tough. That is tough. Let me go back to full screen and see what Celine's saying. We are ideal for a short at this point. We are ideal for a short on VWAP and the 9. Bears do have control. Bearish on the OBV, which is our on-balance volume. And then the 200 is also bearish. The 50 is bullish, meaning we're over the 50 EMA. And the 1000 is bullish, meaning we are over the 1000. So show you guys the 200 here really quickly as well. So right at the 200 EMA, right at the 200. Be incredible to see it bounce here and for us to pick back up towards 600. I don't have any fundamental stuff for this though. All I can see is that we do have a little bit of resistance here. Boom. There we go. There we go. All right, 1 second, guys. Actually, I'm gonna throw that album up real quick. Hold on now. In Dimes We Trust.
This young boy from Texas, so excuse my grammar. Big booty, my standards, Deuce and Fanta. If I'm in the scene, I'm flexing in the camera. Check my fellas, we all flock the same. We birds of the same feather, we together, this forever. Switching bezels every level. Me and Cinco push that two-door coupe. Ain't none of this shit rented. Serving fishes, fuck your favorite rapper. Hope he get offended. I was tripping off that hoe before, but promise I ain't tripping. I was tripping off them Subi jeans, but now my closet drip is on her. Got a bag and I couldn't be prouder. Drop a song and your status went nada. In the booth if I'm trying to get proper. I was a schoolboy just trying to get collard greens. Homie outside with Alicia Keys. I made money from mics, they made money from fiends. Root of all evil, what got me them tickets at Regal? So fuck what's illegal. I'm different, I really ain't get a handout. I know half of these rappers were gimmicks. I write my own lyrics, I bought my own pen. All the most by my song screaming, fuck your opinion. No need for a nigga to say that I'm winning. It's fuck everybody the way I've been feeling. I got me a bitch and my bitch got a bitch, so they down for a threesome, nigga pimpin'. Young boy from Texas, so excuse my grammar. Big booty, my standards, Deuce and Fanta. If I'm in the scene, I'm flexing in the camera. Check my fellas, we all flock the same. We birds of the same feather, we together, this forever. Switching bezels every level. Switch a Lambo for a Chevy. Backseat heavy from that heavy. Want a bad bitch with the fetty. When she ready, bitch, I'm ready. Fuck the sex, I want that Becky. Give me Becky, if you let me. I whip slow, my cook game steady. Turn that boy into spaghetti. I can ask a partner in my camp to handle something. They just do it like they beefing with Adidas. Bitches popping pussy for the same skinny nigga dropping music. Ain't nobody had believing. Took a couple L's, I ain't tweaking. I got money to help all my reasons. I got shorties from all major regions. I jumped in the water and claiming the deep end. Hold on. Different money, I'm counting those shorties I'm pounding on. I know them niggas is pissed. I'ma put a new paddock on by my bitch silicone, then I'ma double again. Niggas ain't solid, I don't claim a friend, because when I was knocking, you ain't let me in. Niggas lose vision all over the pussy or snake the whole game for a blue Benjamin. Witness, everyone said that I'm up, I was stuck at the bottom. You ain't give a fuck, I don't care for a bitch. I ain't searching for love and I don't trust the soul if he ain't from above. I ain't surfing the wave, I got locks, fuck a brush. When I got in the game, I was shit out of luck. They would look at my pain and they ain't help me up. If you mention my name, say I don't give a fuck. Young bitch from Texas, so excuse my grammar. Big booty, my standards, Deuce and Fanta. If I'm in the scene, I'm flexing in the camera. Check my fellas, we all flock the same. We birds of the same feather, we together, this forever. Switching bezels every level. I ain't gon' die up in no Cuban link, pimpin' hoes. My ass gon' die up in this Gucci mink. Whole crew with it, she in the mood if I just do a wink. Her mama ain't gon' listen, said my music too explicit. Ain't my bitch, then I won't kiss it. If you leave, I won't be trippin'. BD Coupe is rented, now she tryna be a missus. I can't be a witness, they treat pussy like religion. Pussy like religion, they treat pussy like religion. Baby, act up, tell that nigga back up. COVID nigga stack up, purple in the Dixie cup. Poet nigga, squeeze a little together if you gotta ask him applying the pressure. All of my hoes get together, she leaving her nigga cause Mike do it better. Oh baby, that boy might go crazy, hit a 180. Hoes can't play me no more. She tryna get a Mercedes, shorty too lazy, she ain't a lady. Promise I've been on a mission. If you let me hit it, I won't lose my vision. All of my windows is tinted, so stop with the tripping. There won't be a witness. I brag different, I did this shit all on my own. His shit rented, how he gon' flex some money loan. I start winning, now everybody in my phone saying please. Just leave me alone. Ain't my bitch, then I won't kiss it. If you leave, I won't be tripping. BD Coupe is rented, now she tryna be a missus. I can't be a witness.
I'm back. Had to go to the bathroom. Okay. Next ticker. Roblox. Hell yeah. Alright, so Roblox was actually about to be a huge play. Because this triangle I had here. It's about to be huge. Look at that. And we broke down. Now we're basing. So we lost the setup for this. Roblox, I'm not even messing with it right now at all. Like, I almost don't want to give like a TA opinion. I mean, it looks bearish, right? I was wanting us to go long, in anticipation of this this wedge breaking to the upside. We haven't like completely failed out of it either. So it's like not much happening right now. And a lot of people were watching Roblox last week as well. A lot of people, man. So Roblox needs to make a decision. I think $45 it needs to reclaim, and we'll start talking. But look at the 1 hour, look at the 200 EMA on a 1 hour. That's what we keep rejecting. Okay, CSCO. Who doesn't like some cybersecurity? Holy shit. Apparently nobody. Look, recently rejected through. Ooh. Let's see, hold on now. Insider buys? Insider buys? Alright, Latrice, you were asking me to look at Cisco. I'm going to ask you to go look at the ticker S. It's also cybersecurity. I think it's a retirement play, to be honest. Like, hold S long term. Wow. No news. Just big sell-off. I would challenge you to look at S long term. Cisco looks terrible. I want to see a bearish continuation across the board this week. I mean, futures are showing us that it's looking like that. We do have some catalysts this week with Fed talks. Okay, so be careful with whenever the Fed is talking, whether it's FOMC or whatever. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. EV Go. We're still in a short signal on Cisco as well. Still in a long signal on EV Go on the 1 hour here. Really bullish across the board. I don't see why we would stop pushing. God, I like EV Go so much. I watched them IPO, as a matter of fact. I watched him IPO. I was like so into EV Go at one point. Yeah, I just see us continuing higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Continuing to ride the 200 EMA on the 1 hour. Just watch it. If we're failing below $12 again, I would say that we're reversing trend from that point. ABBV. A lot of gaps here on AbbVie. A lot of gaps on AbbVie. I think that this is going to have bearish continuation down towards about 148, 150 again. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw AbbVie back at 150 this week. See, we're establishing a downtrend here. Knife action here. Now a gap. So we either go fill the gap up to 168 or we continue. So trigger for that's going to be 160, 150. And we'll write it back down to about 158. And then if we're breaking below like this 156 level, then we'll take it to 150. Yes, definitely check out S. Space and Kroger. Okay. Space. A lot of consolidation right now on SPCE. I know that they've just been beat up like crazy lately. We're getting a replay of the song here because I have the whole album on. Looking at a daily here, it looks like we have more downside potential back towards $7 going into earnings beginning of May. It's terrible. think if we're getting back over 925, we take a long for the gap fill here. Back up to almost $10. Below 828, taking puts. I actually love trading space, so I call it Spice Girls. God, Kroger has such a beautiful chart. I want to just continue pushing here on Kroger. I want to see a gap fill back up to $60. 61, sorry, just about 60. I want to see this gap fill. Is that 59.94? About 60. I want to see this gap right here get filled. Go long over 59.14. Yeah, I don't want to play puts on Kroger. This is a really good buyer line, but we'll grab calls over 59.14. AbbVie has been hitting all-time highs, so I expected a cool off. Yeah, I think that was definitely the right thing to expect. When it's always hard playing a company when they're in that discovery phase, right? That all-time high kind of discovery phase. You got to be really careful. I low-key read it as Spice too. Yeah, yeah, I call it Spice Girls. I have a couple different nicknames for tickers out there. Let me check on Discord. Baba? Yeah. Baba just still in a massive downtrend. Retesting our seller line here. Wow. Wow, we could, oh man, we could take puts. I might take puts right on Baba this morning. Twitter, sorry, I forgot about Twitter. I mean, everybody sees this, right? Like everybody sees that, right? This downtrend. Everybody sees it, right? Everybody's got to see that downtrend. We'll take puts if we go below 44.40. I'm not looking for calls. Cat and Boeing, got it. Oh, airlines, a lot more earnings on airlines this week, so gotta be careful with that. Cat breaking out right now. I think we're gonna probably do a bull flag, or probably pin it down to about 225, and we'll probably base around 225, and we'll pick up again big time. So I think this would be a good buy zone here. Okay, going. Switch it short here. Oh my. So I just made a fib level from 197 to 173. So now we have this 0.382 fib level. We'll see if we're pushing below 181 on Boeing this week. I don't want to short Boeing this week with airlines. I think it's going to probably be picking up more than likely with airlines continually doing well on earnings. MRO looks fantastic right now for another long position. I think that let's go look at the US oil index. Wow. Good crude oil futures. Actually, back to MRO. So I want to actually be long on MRO and Oxy this week again. Neo. I'll be short on Neo if we're below 1953. I'll be long if we're over 1986. Because right now we're just consolidating on Neo. We look bearish though. LI at a triple bottom right now, looks like. Probably going to be seeing more downside with this. Look at that volume. $25.60. There's a wall right there. We look at plug. You have a call contract for Space and Kroger 422. In the future, Ara, holding over the weekend on contracts that expire that next Friday. That's usually, you'd want to roll those, meaning you'd want to push those out a week before or an extra week after, and not hold those over the weekend. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get hit on theta. You have 2 Oxy calls. Nice, yeah, I'm going to be buying some tomorrow. But nice. I really like Oxy here. 93 calls. Those are really far out of the money. You'd want to get way closer, like 63 calls. I'm probably going to trade like 61s this week. Any more questions, guys? Let me know. I'll be watching Disney tomorrow as well with some of my friends. We're going to be watching Disney break 130 to take it back towards 128. This range right here. Reach my alert limit, huh? I don't think NVIDIA is going to see that level again anytime soon. There we go. All right. $63. Oh, okay, good. No worries, no worries. Stream's recorded, so you ain't gotta worry about that either. Alright, let's see if there's any more. Is staying close to the money more important than the price moving, and which tickers are good for small accounts? SPY and Qs, very affordable. Staying closer to the money is definitely recommended. The closer the better, right? If you're in the money, it's safe. Much safer than being super far out of the money. But Ron, good question there. But for small accounts, you want to stick to kind of bigger name stuff. But SPY, if you can learn SPY, you really don't need to trade anything else. DHI coming down towards a double bottom right now. Ooh. Look at that double bottom, it's approaching. Love to play that bounce. Let's look at the 1 hour here. We'll enter a short position under 72.33. Look how we filled that gap though. Boom, filled. Definitely has room up to about $78, so 77 definitely. On the long side, aren't the premiums much higher, closer to the money? Yes. The reason being, Ron, they're more expensive the closer you are to the money or in the money, because there's more intrinsic value when you're in the money. Because when you're talking about options, there's intrinsic and extrinsic value. Extrinsic value is heavily influenced by IV or implied volatility, meaning that if a move is happening, a considerable move, momentous if you would, it's going to bolster up the premium via IV. So if we whip or retrace really quickly back down, say you're in a call and you're $5 out of the money, we pop up, you're going to see a spike in those calls. And if we pull back down really quickly, even just a little bit, it's going to, there's an effect called IV crush. So the IV is going to get stomped out and your contract's going to be worth less, right? So that's why you got to be careful when you're out of the money or not like right at the money. And it's always a really, really good idea when you're getting those big, big spikes like that to actually sell on those, sell those contracts at that point because you're getting a very good IV spike. So instead of waiting to necessarily hit a target, if we're pushing up really quickly towards the target, take the profit right then. You know, I'd rather miss out on making money than lose money on a whip, right? And that is like the golden ticket when it comes to options, man. OKTA. Box from about 144.80 to about 141.50. Got a support box down here. So if we're above, we're taking calls. If we're below, we're taking puts. Puts down to 136.60, and then calls back to about 150, 130, 152.
To the studio while they hating on the nigga that they used to know. Keep on talking, they just talking, we ain't cool no more. FaceTime shorties just to see what.
Why not trade the futures directly? I do trade futures as well. That's where a lot of my account gets traded, but I do skeptical plays as well. Where I'm looking for, you know, like wedges like this, and I'll use a certain percentage of my account or my portfolio, a certain percentage of my portfolio gets allocated towards plays like this, where I do a lot of, you know, day-to-day trading on futures. What do you look for when choosing a good strike? What do I look for when choosing a good strike price? Delta, I know volume and open interest are the main ones. But I heard that the psychological number strikes are better as well. SG, yes. So definitely the psychological numbers as far as like a 165 or a 160 or a 150, those are going to have higher open interest, which leads to higher volume, which overall means better liquidity, which is a necessity when you're trading, right? Options, you need good liquidity, tight spreads. When it comes to delta, there's actually a ratio, kind of a ratio to look out for when you're talking about delta and theta, either a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ratio. So a delta of 0.4 would mean a theta of about 0.1. So if it's like a 0.4 delta and like a 0.3 theta, like that sucks a lot. So don't trade that. But like a 0.4 to delta and like a 0.1 theta makes a lot of sense, right? But if that is like on Tuesday and that contract expires Friday, that theta is going to increase the next day. So maybe don't hold it past like Wednesday night or definitely Thursday night. Roll the position, right? Roll the position, meaning push out the expiration, roll up to a different strike in doing so as well. Like when I'm taking a swing trade, right? And if I'm looking to I'm taking profit all the way up, right? So I'm scaling out of my position, right? I'm constantly selling, but maybe I'm also opening up, you know, another strike at another date at the same time because the play has a lot of potential. So I'm locking in that profit as we're going. So not only am I selling contracts and closing that position, but I'm also opening up other positions to continue to let that push come to fruition, right? And when I'm opening up a new position, I'm using the profit from the old position that I closed. So that's how swing trading, and that's how everybody should be doing options trading is, if you're closing out a long on one side at, let's say we're in a short on OKTA. So we see this heavy downtrend being established. So every time we're hitting the top of this line here, we're opening up a new position, right? So when we're hitting the bottom of it, because there's also a downward portion to this as well, right? So when we're trading within, this is known as a channel downtrend. We're opening positions at the top, closing them at the bottom. Opening at the top, closing at the bottom. So if we're going to continue to see a breakdown of this, then we would just continually take profit at the bottom and then open another position at the top for another date, right? So you're taking that profit and just rolling it and rolling it and rolling it and rolling it. Oxy closed lower than Wednesday close. You think it's still good? Yeah, I think it'll be great for this week. I trust Warren Buffett, so not really. I'm just teasing, but yeah, Oxy has a lot of potential. Futures way down, and then futures for oil are way up. So, and the fact that we're breaking major levels on futures, it's looking pretty bad for the week, which is typically good for oil. So, look in those sectors for strength there. Is high IV good when entering a position? No, that is bad. It's high IV is good when you're exiting a position because you're getting an IV spike, right? It's going to help you get a better than normal exit. But when you're entering, you want to have low IV. So when it does spike, you can sell. So not only is your TA coming to fruition, but if there's a momentous push, the IV spikes, it's a great time to sell. Not a good time to buy. Tech looks terrible this week, Apple included there, Shadia. About 30 minutes left for class today. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. We could certainly wrap it up here if you guys don't have any more questions. Can I repeat the delta theta ratio? Sure thing. So either a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. So a delta of 0.4, good theta would be 0.1. That's a good contract right there. It's great if it's 0.5, 0.1. It's fantastic. But if it's less than 3-to-1, it's bad. 2-to-1 is just sketchy. Certainly hope you guys enjoyed something and learned something from today's class. I appreciate all of you showing up and showing out. Definitely doesn't have to end here. Just keep the questions flowing if you guys want. What's up, Real Plays? Is Oxy calls tomorrow looking prime? Yeah, I know, man. They look great. Finding it difficult to find options with those ratios. You're going to need to look closer to the money. And it's also the weekend, so everything's going to change tomorrow. You'll see it. You'll typically land between like a 4-to-1 and 3-to-1. So like a 40 delta, 15 theta. Like a pretty happy medium. All right, y'all. Thanks, bro. How often do I go live? So I do a class every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I also do a live trading every Tuesday morning over in MSC. Are you paying a monthly premium on TradingView? I added the NQ and ES, but it's delayed by 10 minutes, so I'm assuming you have to pay to get real-time. Yeah. So you have to pay to get real-time data anywhere. But yeah, with TradingView, I just have the Pro version. You don't need like the highest end version. I use the Pro version, and then that allows me to get my data packs. It's like $2 a month for like ARCA, NYSE, and NASDAQ. It's $2 each a month for that. And then the futures data, which is CME data, that's $4 a month. So I think all in all, it's like $30 a month. But I get an annual on TradingView whenever they have a sale. Can I explain the delta and theta ratio one more time? Yeah, I'll write it out. So here's our delta to theta ratio, 4-to-1, 0.4 delta to 0.10 theta. Minimum is going to be 3-to-1 ratio for that. The best is 5-to-1. The best is 5-to-1. It's pretty rare to see those, but yeah, typically fantastic. You didn't even realize gold is getting close to retesting 2K? Oh my god. Go open up your vaults and sell your gold at 2K. What do I think about Wish? Shorting that thing into the dirt, man. Example of high IV. Seen stocks go up to 2,000%. Like stocks go up 2,000%? You won't see that, but reasonably low IV would probably be like 30 to 45%. Reasonably low IV. If IV is over 100%, just stay the hell away from it. Usually that's a good rule of thumb because you can see IV get all the way up to like 185, 200%. It's like, just don't buy that. Sell it, don't buy it. Thank ya. You're welcome. You're welcome. LOL wish. How can you kill what's already in the dirt? I know, right? I hate that stock. So 0.01 theta is $10 a day. 0.01 theta is $1 a day. 0.1 theta is $10 a day. So in options, everything's in multiples of 100 because one option, like one call, is the right to buy 100 shares of the underlying at a set price. That's why it's a bullish option. A put is the right to sell 100 shares of the underlying at that price. That's why it's a bearish thing. Right? So when you're talking about the contract cost 0.5, that's actually $50. Not 50 cents, it's $50. Because we're talking in multiples of 100. So 1.0 theta is $100? Yes, correct. And that means for every day you hold it, it's $100 being burnt off. Good questions, though. Isaac, since you're on YouTube, if you look on the my YouTube channel, Trading Collective, you'll actually see a intro to options video. It's done surrounding Webull, and you'll actually see it's about 15-20 minutes long. It comes with a handout, and I cover 3 different sections of options. I gotta get some water, chat. 1 second.
Cocaina sniffing in the back room. Wishy-washy bitches wanna see what all them racks do. Junkie with a face, she love to do it in the bathroom. Bitch, you talk too much. She ain't saying nothing. All these fake assumptions, but she keep on talking about a rap nigga. Molly, coke and weed, she thinks she fucking with a trap nigga. Never heard of some, but she keep talking about his clout nigga. If he give her drugs, she gonna trade it for some mouth nigga. Fuck with her, but don't fuck with her. I got two phones, one for the wall. Hello, you can catch me with a wall. Probably fucking on the wall. Feel the blink, I know you know. Solo baby, I got things you never seen, and I could probably show you, baby. Make you feel right. Fucking with a lame, no wonder why it doesn't feel nice. Record base is booming, now these bitches wanna feel Mike. I don't need to talk about the blizzy just to feel fly. Been that nigga before I had figures. I got 2 hoes, one jug bro. A hoe, she gon' do it for a no, or a gram to fill a bow. Getting high before a show. Junkie baby doesn't care about the message, just about the feeling, baby. But she keep on talking about a rap nigga. Molly, coke and weed, she thinks she fucking with a trap nigga. Never heard of some, but she keep talking about his clout nigga. If he give her drugs, she gonna trade it for some mouth nigga. Fuck with her, but don't fuck. I remember I would ship the work, but now I skip the work so I can sip the work. Would kick a dough before I stick a foe. I make them pockets hurt. I held it down, so now I'm coming up. My money doubled up. He got a gun to try and cover up. Yo, big dog.
Alrighty, chat.
I don't got no time for that shit.
Netflix on earnings Tuesday after hours, watching Warner Brothers for Sympathy, HBO Max, Discovery, streaming platforms. Don't forget about Amazon. Oh, I want to see. No. I want to see Netflix back here at 3:30, man. Ooh, prior to earnings. We'll get it. Why did I do that? There we go. All right. Jeez. Mike Dime's hard on that song. Let's see if there's any more questions. You've seen the ID go up to 2,000%? That's a lot. Definitely don't buy that. Definitely sell that. You're welcome. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the class here today. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate you all showing up and showing out. Every Sunday, we do these classes. This is recorded. It's getting added to the playlist now. So if you guys missed any of our lessons, I'm going to be dropping the link so you guys can see all of those. If you guys are interested in this algorithm that I've been using, I use every day to trade, look in the description of the YouTube video and you'll see more info on that. Make sure you use coupon code MSC at checkout for your discount. And yeah, guys, I'll see you again Tuesday morning for our live trading session. Later, guys.